It's crazy out there. Market drawing to highs, rioting, defunding police. What are we going to do now? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 7th, and whoa, my goodness, what a week. What a couple of weeks it's been in general. From the rioting and the looting and the protesting to the crazy jobs number that suddenly showed up in these ridiculous times. And wow, and markets ignore it all and continue to run higher to new highs, and we'll cover more about that in our market segment. But you've got just so many things going on. And I think a lot of what we're seeing here has been created by the media. And again, I don't care what side of the aisle you sit with. Okay, both sides of the media are full of crap, and unfortunately, there's more of one than the other. But both have their own side agendas, and they will make the case for you. To let you believe what you want to believe based on what their opinions are. And again, it's almost laughable, except that these circumstances are dire, and it's extremely crazy out there. And of course, you're running at fear for your life as they talk about defunding the police. So let's arm the criminals and defund the police and get rid of the police, and we can have just a very safe society, right? It'll be wonderful. Okay. Again, we all know that there are good policemen out there and there's bad ones. Just like in any other profession, any other race, any other creed, there's good and there's bad, and that will always be the case no matter what. Okay. But to have some of these idiotic politicians talk about defunding the police, starting with our own mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, and others, okay, it's laughable. I mean, it's not laughable. It's sad that it's even a discussion that we are going to take away the men and women that stand up for us every single day, that allow us to live the lives we live, okay? The rioting and the looting is pathetic, okay? The protesting is good, and as long as it can remain peaceful. Again, I remind you that I grew up first of all, in the area where a heavily Jewish area that had to allow the KKK to have their demonstration in the center of a very Jewish town. So again, I also came up through integration, and I understand a lot of things going on. And of course, I've been subject to some of the hate of others, being a Jewish man in the 60s. Okay. Again, there is still a lot of racism in this country, and it's something that needs to be done and fixed. But you don't do it by looting, and you don't do it by hurting unarmed people. You don't do it by destroying local businesses of your own peers. Okay. But of course, I think a lot of this is being funded by people that we don't even want to talk about. Okay. Again, I think a lot of this has become more of another political battle, another way to try to sway the election that is upcoming. Because if this wasn't an election year, would we be having these same troubles that we're having now? Okay. Again, I asked you, and we'll talk more about that in my commentary. But of course, obviously in this country, there are issues. Okay. There has been issues. Hopefully we're going to get them better. Hopefully we're going to get to equality. And again, we must continue to work in that direction. Okay. Because I think that is the ultimate importance, is that all men and women are created equal, or should be. We know that has not been the case, but we also know that we are trying to get it better. And I think that it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I think we need to continue to work in that direction to make this a better country. But making it better does not include all the rioting and looting and anger and killing and fires and all that stuff. That does not solve the problem, okay? But of course, one of the problems that creates and continues to help these things build is the inability to get rid of some of the police, okay, because of the unions. All right. Again, the police in Minneapolis, they should have been arrested that day. You cannot murder somebody in cold blood on a street. Okay, you can't put your knee to somebody's neck and murder them in cold blood on the street. That is no matter who you are. Okay, you should be put in jail. You should be arrested. Okay, so we know that was wrong. Okay, but again, we can't change it. But the problem here is that the Minneapolis government, okay, the mayor, the governor, whichever, did not act fast enough to take care of it. Okay, but again, I ask you the question: if this weren't an election year, would we be seeing this wildness that we're seeing now? Okay, again, I do believe that we should have equal rights, equal pay, equal jobs. Okay, I'm all for it. Okay, and I believe in it. And I think that again, being from my background, I have somewhat of a little bit of understanding. Certainly not the same understanding as those that are directly affected, the African Americans, Black Lives Matter. I get all that. And again, it is a tragedy in this country that needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed. But defunding and having ridiculous politicians who for months have said social distancing, all the other things, and now you see them packing them in, including some of your elected officials. So again, in my eyes, there's a little bit too much double standards, a little bit too much coincidence in some of the things that are happening. In the meantime, again, one of the big problems we know are the collective bargaining agreements. We're seeing that happen right now in Major League Baseball. Okay, why are we not starting baseball? Because it's about money. Okay, so inevitably things come back down to it's about money. Okay, and it's about getting things done in a way. But again, that's one of the problems and one of the overall things of the strength of unions in this country today, which is why I think that in many cases the unions have outworn their usefulness. You know, we go back to when they were created and we go back to history again and going back to women not being able to vote, to child labor laws, all those things. Again, there's a lot of bad history here, but yet it is still history. And we have to respect what the history was and learn from it and not make it worse. Okay. So in the meantime, we had an unbelievable jobs number on Friday, and where that number came from, I have no idea. Okay. Now, you hear many talking about that was a crooked or a fixed number. The number is never fixed, but we know one thing about government. Okay. We know one thing about reports that come from the government. Invariably, they are reconnoitered or adjusted the following month or at some place subsequently later. Okay. So again, remember, we did have a lot of people go to work that were furloughed, and a lot of people went back to work, so they came off the unemployment rolls. So again, I don't know whether the number was right or wrong. Okay. But again, we know that if it was wrong, it will be adjusted and it would not be a surprise. But we are seeing a lot of people that are going back to work. Remember, we were furloughed in masses over this whole virus thing, which again is another crock of crap. And again, more than likely brought to us thanks to the China. Okay. It's amazing how Beijing, I don't think has any cases. That I find fascinating all by itself. But the end game here is that we have the issues, and again, is the jobs number accurate? I don't know. But one thing we know for sure, the markets decide, and price is always right. So the markets continue to go higher based on what their interpretation of everything is, and it isn't just that simple jobs number, okay? So, but the facts are simple, okay? We are going back to work. There are people, but there is still a terrible problem in this country with jobs, with employment, because we're only operating right now at probably 25 or 30% of capacity. So we know that the unemployment number is going to be 13, 14, 15, 16% for quite a while here. and it's probably higher depending on which report you choose to look at. Okay, there's the U3 and there's the U6. So again, we know that we have a lot of issues jobs-wise, but that will resolve itself as we and if we can get the country open again. Okay, that is the whole thing here. And what will happen with this coronavirus deal, okay, or COVID-19, is it real or was it more of a mirage, so to speak? Because again, we'll see with all these protests and people on top of each other, let's see if there's any major outbreaks coming soon. And that would tell us a big story about the virus. But of course, there is the great disconnect between the country and between the markets. Again, the markets people go where money treats them best. And right now, there is only one place to invest your money, that is the stock market. So again, you can look for all the reasons you want, okay? And you can think about if you're overpaying, and we'll talk about more of that for stocks in our market segment. But at the end game here is, again, this has been in history, okay? You know, money knows no troubles. It's looking for a home. It's looking to find the overall best value and best return. And of course, we see OPEC and Russia and the rest extending the oil production cut. But again, does it matter? I mean, we could go back into production right now. Look, oil has had a rally and it should settle in here somewhere. We will understand better. But again, it comes back down to real demand. And again, we are starting to see some real demand going forward. And I think there's a lot of things that we will see and find out. But the bigger question is, though, will oil ever see the $50, $60, $80, $100 range? My guess is no. But we will, again, we'll see. Listen, we'll see, you know, going forward, okay, where it's going to end up at. But at the end of the day, okay, we have to understand, okay, where we are and what can be done, you know, with oil and how much that we can still produce if needed. So there's a lot of things that are happening around the country, around the world, obviously politically, business-wise, and in every other circumstance, okay? But as you see, when it comes to money, it just continues to roll on, okay? That is something that we have to understand from a market standpoint, okay, is that money rolls no matter what, okay? So it doesn't matter if you think you're overpaying. We know that the economy is nowhere near as strong as the market is right now. Will it get stronger? Let's hope so. Obviously, it's to everybody's best interest that the economy get better, okay? It's a tragedy, the number of people that we have unemployed in this country right now because of the lack of sports, all the vendors, all the parking attendants, all the people that work there, okay? All the small business that is ruined and will never come back. So we have some very dramatic issues that will have to be addressed at a later point in time, okay? They will not be addressed today because we're not ready to address that. But again, it comes back to what happens with the virus. Can we get people back together? Can we get the venues open and get the sports playing? I mean, you don't realize what a big employer those things are, okay? And how many people depend on those jobs? Not to mention, as I said, all the other small businesses around the country, okay? We have problems, okay? In America, we need to solve these problems, okay? But the first big problem is figuring out what to do with the virus and how to get the country open, along with creating equality, okay? And having reasonable protests without the killing, the looting, and the fires. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Top Bubba Horowitz. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be back with more of Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. What's up, kids? Well, you know, listen, we've got lots of things going on, but of course, we've got some great stuff for you. And if you look at our new commodities report called Technomental, written by Andy Hecht, just a phenomenal report, and again, nails a lot of the things that goes on as he traveled around the world, actually buying and selling physical commodities in locations you and I wouldn't want to go to, okay? But again, if you want to check out Technomental from Andy Hecht, and at one time the world's biggest silver trader, as well as the number one author of Seeking Alpha right now, you certainly can check out the reports, $100 a month or $800 annually. So go to BUBBATrading.com and check that out. And of course, don't forget about our brokerage partners, okay, where we have our great partners in Tradier for equities. Okay, again, $10 a month, great customer service, great execution, also tied into our API for our hedging program. Not bad, $10 a month. How can you beat it? And of course, for futures and commodities, we've got CTG Group. Again, they handle all of our letter direction trading. They have some great new products themselves. Again, customer service, that's what we care about, is making sure that our members and our people get taken care of. And that's always one of the things we do when we're talking about the different brokers that we talk about. In the meantime, if you want information on either one of those, please email me at bubba@bubbatrading.com. Okay, that would be bubba@bubbatrading.com, and I'll get you the information you need. And of course, don't forget about our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and myself, Todd Bubba Horwitz. Welcome back, and it is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 7th. Okay, and of course, obviously, what a week for the markets. Can you bust? I mean, again, it's kind of scary. Okay, now again, we remain long equities, but I mean, obviously, these rallies, Nasdaq made new highs. Okay, the Dow and the S&P are within spitting distance of new highs. Okay. The Russell's even got a chance. The weakest of the bunch has still got a chance to get to that potential of new highs. Now, again, do I agree with it? Personally, not necessarily. I mean, I think there's a lot of issues. I don't know where all this growth is coming from. But as we said earlier, money will go where it's treated best. And again, where else are you going to go if you want to get yield or try to make money on the money that you are investing? Okay. So that is obvious. You've seen this has been the direction, and this will be at some point in time, whether it's next week, next year, who knows? At some point, this will be the problem that will create the much bigger sell-off that is going to come at some point. But again, we have no idea when, where it's going to come from. Okay. So in the meantime, are you overpaying for stocks? Well, I don't know. Are you overpaying? They're going up every day. So, again, it's hard to say that you're overpaying. Is this a little bit bubblicious? Might be. But again, you have to remember that, again, you can't fight it. So we're hedged. So again, for me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. But certainly in my trading account, I am as long as I've ever been in the futures products and will continue to stay there. I mean, again, we will not change until our signals change. So we're long and we'll stay there. So again, just keep that in mind. And of course, the bond market got ripped last week. And of course, we reversed the 30-year bonds last week on Wednesday, and we're going to reverse the 10 years either tonight or tomorrow morning, obviously. But again, it looks like interest rates are starting to rise. So what does that say? That does tell you something that is positive about the economy because there's a demand for money. Okay, money works like everything else. Supply, demand. The demand is getting bigger. Rates are going higher. Okay. Now we had a great run on the long side of these things. Now we're going to be short, and hopefully, rates will go higher because higher rates will help everybody. Okay, these low, ridiculous zero rates are moronic. Okay, what makes them think it works is, I don't know, just look at the Japan model. 40 years later, they're still trying to figure it out. Okay, but again, higher rates are better for everybody. It's better for those who want to use banks instead of the markets. It's better it gives you more choices for your investments. But in the meantime, they are rising at the moment. We'll see if the Fed can stay the hell out of the markets, but again, that is unlikely based on their recent track record. The metals, crushed. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, I'm saying unfortunately, I don't know, but not crushed enough to reverse. Okay. That little rally late Friday, it took us away from a reversal. So we will be long going into the week, but I'm going to guess that any down day, we will be reversing to the short side of the metals. But across the board, they were ugly. And I would think that platinum's right there. Platinum could have gone either way. Okay. Silver and gold are still obviously, but all of them are very close to reversing. But for now, we remain long the bunch. Okay. Crude, look, we're long crude. As you know how much I hate being long crude in general. Okay. But again, I knew at the lower levels, there was probably a good likelihood of a rally, and I would expect to see probably 40 before it starts to turn over. If you look at a chart, there's a gap up on its way to 40. It looks like we're tracking that right now and should see the pullback potentially from there. Now again, there may not be. We're long, so I am not going to change. And of course, I would suspect that you might see a higher opening tonight. Again, I don't know, and it's hard to say. Did we price that in on Friday? What OPEC did yesterday? We'll see. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised to see a possible top put in the next couple of days. Again, I'm going to be long until we change. So which means that until Tuesday, for sure, we'll be long crude. Okay. But again, we'll see when it changes. We'll be willing to change with it. The dollar smushed. Okay. Now again, the dollar, as we talked about for weeks, 99 to 101, boom, 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 and then bang, it fell to the downside. Now we're, I think 95 is probably the next level, the next support. So we'll see what that looks like. Okay. At 95, but again, we're short dollars and we'll stay there, of course. Copper has been working okay. We're long copper, short natural gas. Natural gas is lower, had a down week. And of course, we get to our friends in the meats and of course cattle. Had a mediocre week. We're still long both fats and feeders. Okay, we are short the hog market now, and they've been miserable. Again, they were miserable on both sides, and I expect to see probably a pretty big rally coming back again now. This has been the hogs have been an extremely volatile commodity recently, anyways. And the grains, we finally reversed part of them. We have reversed the soybeans. I would say corn and wheat are within pennies of reversing. So I would think that my guess is that we have seen the bottoms in the grains, and my guess is that we'll see that by the weekend. I mean, by the end of the week, we'll probably be long across the board in the grains. Okay, so I would expect to see, that to be part of the equation now, because again, I do expect them to go higher anyways, and I think that's where we're headed. And of course, as we get the economy open and as we get things starting to work a little bit, I think you'll start to see the bigger demand, and I think you're going to also start to see some of that new money looking for a home. They might decide that now is a place to find some value in the commodity space. Okay, so again, I think that you're looking for probably a reversal here pretty quickly. But again, here's my concerns. Okay, lack of liquidity. Okay, now you keep hearing every genius say that the Fed provides liquidity. The Fed has actually reduced the liquidity in the markets. It's really affected the free market trading system. So the markets are not that liquid, which is why we're seeing much bigger moves than normal on much lighter volumes. Now again, can that resolve itself? Yeah, eventually it can. But right now, we are in markets that have a lot less liquidity. You've seen the VIX, which is falling off the table. It priced at about 24 right now. It's really trading at about 12. Okay, so be very careful in the options world right here, because although volatility is still up there, it's really much lower. Remember, it's an average it'll get to, and eventually it will pull back down to where it belongs unless we do have some sort of a big sell-off. So we look at the entire picture, okay, the market's going up. So you cannot, again, anytime you decide that you're better, smarter, and want to fight the tape or fight the market, you'll typically end up losing, because as the old saying goes, markets remain irrational a lot longer than you and I can remain solvent. So again, I urge you to be careful. Again, we have no issues. We just follow the algorithm, or you follow the bouncing ball. So that we will continue to do so. We will continue to have big weeks because, again, we put in some new all-time highs again in our portfolios last week, and hopefully we'll continue to do so this week, because it looks like right now we're rolling along, and of course our equity portfolios kicked ass as well. So from a financial standpoint, all things are very solid. In the meantime, we're going to step out of here for a break. We'll be back with my commentary right after the break. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horowitz. All right, kids. Well, again, you know about our commodity report. We talk about it every day, and it is just kicking butt, man. I mean, our friend Andy Heck, Technomental, has given out a couple of ETF plays on some of the commodity spaces, and PICK is up about 14%. And Vidal, another one of his, VIDL, was also up about 30% since he recommended it. Again, it's the number one commodity report. You got to read it. You got to see it. It's written in long detail. Okay, it's written. I mean, the report, the quarterly reports are over 100 pages, like reading a book. But again, this is because of what he has done and where he's done for a living. So you want to check it out, go to BUBBATrading.com. It's called TechTML. It's $100 a month or $800 a year. And of course, don't forget about our brokerage partners at CTG for futures and commodities. Again, we worry about customer service. I have brokerage accounts. I have many brokerage accounts at different funds. But when it comes to customer service, when it comes to who I like the best, it comes back to CTG. Because again, they take care of business. They take care of what I need. They answer the phone. That's what I like. And of course, Trader is the same way. Okay, I've got other equity accounts. Okay, but when it comes to it, A, Trader is only $10 a month. B, they answer the phone. There's no voicemail. We don't get these delays. So again, CTG for futures and commodities, Trader for equities. You want information either one, just email me at bub@bubbatrading.com. I'll send you their information. And of course, don't forget about our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Now let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. This is Todd Bubba Horowitz. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz, and it is Sunday, June the 7th. And of course, wow, what a week. What a 2 weeks. Okay. But I'm really concerned about the country. Okay. I'm really concerned at this whole political divide. And I'm going to say this, I'm sure I'll get lots of nasty letters, but the divide is being more created by the left than it is by the right. And going to as far as now hiring Lisa Page to work for MSNBC. Again, we already know she hates the current president, and I think that you're seeing a divide that we've never seen before in this country, and it's being perpetrated because it appears that the left just wants the White House back. That's what it appears like. Again, you can debate that issue all you want, but I think that, I want to know where all this rage and all this anger was 2 weeks ago. Okay, we know that the Democrats, the left, has been angry all along, but I'm asking, if this was an election year, would we be having as much of the rioting and things that we're having now? You're having people riot and loot and burn that aren't even part of that city in places. Okay, those sound to me like they're hired protesters. Okay, and we know who was behind many of the hired protesters. You can look it up. I won't mention the name here, but I'm sure you've heard it before. But again, I'm wondering, as part of this, last night in Chicago, they had a very peaceful demonstration. I thought it was great, okay? And I happen to know my daughter went to the protest, okay? And she said it was very peaceful and very good. And I agree. We should have the right to protest, okay? We should have the right to say what's on our mind. But we don't have the right to destroy. We don't have the right to create fires. We don't have a right to ruin businesses, to ruin our friends and neighbors. Of course, if you're a paid protester that's starting this anger on purpose, you may not be a friend or a neighbor. Okay? We know that, as we said earlier today, the Minneapolis police was wrong. Those guys should have been arrested and charged immediately. Okay? We need to fix those things. Okay? But you cannot defund the police. You cannot get rid of the police. You want to talk about crazy? Only last weekend there was only 100 and some people killed in Chicago. Nobody talks about that. Okay, nobody talks about the normal everyday murders. Okay, yes, we have a problem. Yes, there are some issues. They need to be solved. Yes, protesting is good, but it has to be done in a peaceful manner to make your point. The minute you bring in violence, the minute you bring in the rest of it, is the time you lose all credibility of what it's about. Okay, again, you have to be able to make your point in an intelligent manner. And what you're seeing in many places now is just that point. Nice, peaceful protesting, bringing it all together. Okay? But again, there has to be changes. We know that there are things wrong. We know we've got to fix it. Okay? We know there there's still some very bad pockets in this country that are very racist. So we understand that. We've got to fix it. But we've got to fix it in the right way without creating a bigger problem. And I think that's one of the biggest things that has now not only been created in general, but by the media in general. Again, pick your side of media. They all see it to their side. Okay, left or right. Again, it was a Fox, CNN, doesn't matter. Okay, one is going to be on the right side, one's going to be on the left side. What happened to just straight reporting to helping getting things accomplished in this country through honesty and accuracy instead of always directing through an opinion. That's where it gets me. That's where I don't understand it. That's why I want to see that change, and I want to see equality for everybody. Okay, that's where it should be. Everybody should have the same opportunity to succeed in this country. Okay, and those who work harder and faster and stronger, once you have that resolved, make as much money as you can, because this is America, the land of opportunity. But we've got to make that opportunity equal for everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you so much. It's always great to be here with you. Obviously, I know there's a few things that a little tougher subjects today, but again, I got to put out what I see and what I think. And again, I've been around for a while and I understand it. And unfortunately, it's a very sad state of affairs. We'll fix it, but we need to work hard on it and do it smart, not with violence. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy yourself. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update, but of course, every Sunday with Bubba's Bottom Line. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you later.